Hello and welcome to the Full Plate Show. My name is Chidi. I'm a packaging entrepreneur. I'm also a brand strategist, and I'm the host of this show. So we talk to food business owners and those that are willing to go into the food industry to tell us a bit about their journey, to tell us about how they got started, and at the same time, what's their view of sustainability. So we talk to those that are basically curious about the industry, those that have achieved a lot of feats in the restaurant and in the food business to basically come share a lot of insight about sustainability, marketing strategies, and just on the general knowledge how they have found the food industry and how that have in fact impacted their life. So today we're having Billy Trainor with us. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you so much, Chidi. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So Billy is a Houston native. He has been here for how many years now?
I was born here, lived abroad for a long time, so I've now been back in Houston for about a decade.
Yeah, like Billy is a explore. Yeah, you explore. You've traveled.
Traveled a lot. Yeah,
Traveled a lot. Yeah, and he has been to Taiwan.
Lived in Taiwan for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been to Taiwan. He has also have over a decade in the restaurant business. You own a restaurant back in Taiwan.
Yeah, owned a restaurant for more than 10 years in Taiwan. Yeah.
Great, great. And aside from that, he's also a photographer.
Sure.
And he's also a marketing strategist as well.
I'd say so.
Yeah, really welcome. You're welcome to the show. Yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. So we're going to be talking about your business, Verdegreens.
Yeah, Verdegreens.
Yeah, Verdegreens. So what is it all about? How did you get started? How did this all come about?
Sure. So we started Verdegreens Farms in 2016.
Okay.
It's a hydroponic farm, an urban farm. It's now about half organic soil production, but we're mostly known for leafy greens, like what you see here on the photos, that are grown in recirculating water systems, otherwise known as hydroponic systems.
Okay.
And so hydroponics recirculates the water past the root zones of the plants. There's a number of different types of hydroponic systems, but we use one that uses long channels. We're primarily a greenhouse grower, so all these systems are ensconced in greenhouses.
Okay.
And they're growing these long 12-foot gutters where the plants are placed. Water is pumped past the roots at all times, and nutrients are dissolved into the water, so the plants are both eating and drinking at the same time. The water is then captured right at the end of the system, and it is constantly recirculated 24/7, 365 days a year.
Wow.
And so it's a more sustainable way of growing plants because the water that is used for the plant metabolism is recaptured. It is not sent out into the environment. And because of that, we use about 90% less water than traditional agricultural practices.
Okay.
And we don't send out any nitrate fertilizers into the environment.
So it's basically sustainable, right?
It's a very sustainable way of growing specifically leafy greens, but also other plants too, though we focus on leafy greens and lettuces.
So, but generally, what's your view about sustainability?
It's super important to us. I'm very much environmentally concerned. And so when we started the project in 2016, we named it Verdegreens, right? Which of course in Spanish means green and greens.
Green, wow.
It's partially because I was a literature major and I like things like tautologies, but also because it's a greener way of growing plants, right? And so we wanted to sort of, tip our cap to the idea that this was a more sustainable way of growing leafy greens, culinary herbs, the stuff that we grow.
Okay, so tell us about why you started. Like, what was the vision? Like,
Sure.
Starting a farm where a lot of people are like, oh, it might be difficult, and the system of how you're doing it is quite.
Yeah, it was very difficult. We had zero experience with doing it. We're probably just overconfident people who decided that we could do this without any true experience as farmers or really even as gardeners. The story that I tend to tell is that Verdegreens farms exist, or I own a hydroponic farm in Houston, Texas, because there's no good Tex-Mex food in Taipei, Taiwan.
Okay.
So what that means is, it's a long story, but my partner at the farm is a chef.
Okay.
And I was living in Taipei, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
I had a couple of restaurants there that were successful. And I told him, hey, man, you should come over to Taiwan because he's a chef. We'll do Tex-Mex food. We'll do a
Right.
Tex-Mex restaurant. And
In
we'll kill it.
Taiwan.
We'll kill it. We'll make a ton of money.
Yeah.
We'll print money. And the question that we had then was, okay, well, why does it? There is a little bit of Tex-Mex food in Taipei. It's really bad.
That's why you wanted to do something different.
As native Texans, we were like, man, we'll go and we'll do Tex-Mex food and we'll kill it. But we have to make it good. And so the question then becomes, well, why is Tex-Mex food bad in Taiwan? And it's because they don't have the right chilies. So we were like, well, we're going to have to figure out how to get like fresh serranos, fresh poblanos, fresh jalapenos, and then potentially all the dried stuff, right? Anchos and pasillas and all the stuff that you need to make good Tex-Mex food. And because that wasn't going to be available locally, we thought, well, maybe we can grow it. And then we're like, well, Taiwan, the climate is okay for that. It's hot, it's wet. We can probably grow chilies. And it was like, but we're going to need them 365 days a year. So
Yeah.
like,
How do you make that
how do
happen?
we do
Yeah.
that? So we're like, well, what if we grew them indoors like people grow weed? And so we started looking up hydroponics.
Wow,
And then we're like,
that's
wow, this is super cool. And so one moment I was back visiting the United States, and we were like, you know what, we should build a little like demonstration facility of a hydroponic thing in the back shed in the backyard.
Okay.
And so we did, and we built a little 10 by 10 shed out of a like, one of those sort of standard back garden sheds.
Okay.
And it was a recirculating hydroponic system. It was actually aquaponic system where you use fish to provide the nutrients to the plants. And we thought that would be cool, and it really was successful.
And you had a fish pond, like a fish.
Yeah. So we do something at Verdegreens called hydroponics, which is where we dissolve fertilizers or nutrients into the water itself. There's another version that's called aquaponics, where you use fish. You feed the fish excrete essentially urea, ammonia through their gills. They're essentially, it's their waste product. That waste product is then broken down by bacteria into nitrogen fertilizers that the plants can eat. And so it's a closed system where the plants clean the water for the fish and the fish provide the nutrients for the plants. Okay. It's called aquaponics, and it's really a beautiful system. And so initially we thought we would do that. And so that was the first system that we built in that little 10 by 10 shed was a system that recirculated water past koi, which are those sort of ornamental carp that you see in Japanese ponds.
Yeah.
And those koi provided the nutrients for the plants, and then the plants cleaned the water for the koi, and everybody's happy, and it worked really well. Yeah.
And that reminds me of most times great ideas just start by facing a challenge, right? You guys hit a roadblock. Oh, how am I going to do this, right?
Yeah.
And you started thinking of solutions, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes some people see problems as problems, but behind that, there's a very huge solution that could be, this is what it is today.
Sure, yeah.
So what impact do you want to, you're in Houston at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So what impact do you see having in the Houston community?
I don't know. When we started the farm, the idea was to basically help people get a little bit closer to the food that they eat. Okay. As restaurant owners and as restaurant professionals for a long time, you're very used to taking in product, preparing it in some way, selling it to people. And that's, the joy of it. That's the reason for being in a restaurant environment or being a chef, right?
Yeah.
Making people happy and hospitality. But at the same time, we wanted to get a little bit closer to the actual preparation of the food, or actually the production of the food, rather than just the receipt and preparation and selling of it. It's because, as a food professional, as somebody who's a chef or somebody who's a restaurant owner, you really care about where you're getting your stuff. Yeah. You care about the quality of it. And we wanted to sort of close that loop, right? So that the people who were, eating the food were not just eating food that we had prepared, but food that we had grown, right? And, as people who are motivated by food and by hospitality, it was sort of a natural step for us to want to get a little bit closer to the beginnings of how food gets made, not just how food gets prepared. Nice. So what we like is that because the farm is an urban farm and it's local and it's close, it's not in the hinterlands, it's not an hour outside of a metropolitan region. Yeah. It's very close into the city, so people can actually come and visit it, and they can sort of see how we grow the things that we grow. because as much as we eat uh, agricultural produce each day, most of the people who are eating, right, don't actually know how their food gets grown.
Yeah, that's true. So this show is about restaurants, right? Restaurant owners, founders, and I'm here with Billy. Really has a really amazing farm. So tell me, do you deal with a lot of restaurants? Is this some can restaurant founders come to you to get this fresh food?
Sure.
And so tell us a little bit about how you help restaurants achieve their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So the majority of our produce we sell at farmers markets, direct to the
Okay.
public, and then we also sell to independent restaurants too.
Okay.
And so independent restaurants contact us. They usually meet us at farmers markets because sort of the
Yeah.
most motivated chefs will go.
They won't
and sort
go
of
there.
check out the farmers markets and see what's growing, what's seasonal. And so over the years, we've serviced a lot of great independent restaurants in Houston.
Okay.
And I say independent because independent restaurants have the power to choose where they're buying their stuff.
Where they're buying their stuff.
A lot of chain restaurants don't. They'll have relationships with major distributors, and they really can only buy through them. And that's just sort of a reality of logistics. But an independent restaurant can buy from an independent farm like ours. And so we literally pack it up from these systems that you see here and drive it over to the restaurants. And so they're receiving stuff that was harvested the same day.
Mm. So do you have any plans to open up your own restaurant as well? You already grow the food, right? You can as well send.
We actually do, yeah. And so when we started the farm in 2016, we had been investigating the idea of it for about 2 or 3 years before. I was still living in Taiwan
Okay.
and decided to move back. And you're asking about sustainability and motivation.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that we decided to do this also was not just to start a restaurant, which we'll discuss in a moment,
Okay.
but it also is just because I'm passionate about it because of the health effects that are implied by eating fresh,
Yeah.
locally grown food. I moved back from Taiwan to do this project, but I also moved back primarily to be closer to my father, who was dying of colon cancer at the time.
Oh, okay.
And as you know, colon cancer is very much related to diet. And specifically, it's related to
Yeah.
Western diet, which is low
lot
in
of-
fiber and high in fats and high in sugars and et cetera. And so we decided we would do this farm after my father passed away from colon cancer. And it was one of our main motivations in doing it. But in any event, the restaurant that you were just referring to,
Yeah.
we are about to open up one of 2 operations that will
Okay.
be opening up in the next 6 months or so.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we took over the lease of a really special place. It's right next to Truth Barbecue in the Lower Heights or Buffalo Heights or Rice Military, however you want to describe that, just south of Washington. And we took over 2 operations. One is a bar and restaurant that will be called Good God Nadine's.
Good
That's
God.
Good God Nadine's.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a story with that too.
Yeah.
Something my now late aunt used to say a lot. And then a restaurant as well, which will be called Farm Stand. So we're opening up 2 places. Farm Stand will be a farm-to-table restaurant based upon what we grow at Verdegreens. And then Good God Nadine's will be as well, meaning that we're going to be incorporating a lot of the stuff that we grow at the farm. We'll be having, the leafy greens, but we're also going to be having all the culinary herbs and interesting things that we grow, the mints and tarragons and other things that we'll be making into syrups and shrubs and all the other stuff that you need to make a beverage program go.
Yeah, and I remember you talked about sustainability being very crucial. Now you're opening up these 2 restaurants.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about sustainability? How do you want to make sure that just like the farm operates in a sustainable way, how do you want to ensure that your restaurants also is sustainable in terms of packaging, in terms of your operations?
Sure. In terms of operations, we're going to be working with a lot of the partner farms that we know in the area. We have a farm box program at the farm, which utilizes not just our produce, but produce from a really great producer in Wharton called Gunderman Acres.
Okay.
He's a Texas TDA certified organic producer. Also some mushrooms from a grower in Tomball called Lone Star Mushrooms, which is great. Shout out to those guys.
Okay.
And so they're going to be on the menu as well, right? So in terms of sustainability, we're going to be utilizing as much local produce as we possibly can, not just sort of aspirationally, but literally
Yeah.
just leveraging the relationships that we have with farmers that we know who are peers in this space. In terms of operations, we're going to be, of course, trying to minimize, the footprint as much as we can. We do everything that we do at the farm is motivated by sustainability, and so we'll be taking that same ethos into the restaurant. And so, the practical ways that will make itself known. We'll certainly be having, composting facilities, and we'll be doing
That's
as
really
much
good.
as we can for recycling, and also just sort of minimizing the amount of inputs. As farmers, as like from past decades or even past centuries, farmers and even just homeowners, right, or not just homeowners, but anybody
Yeah.
who was feeding themselves, right, in an agricultural environment, knew how to ferment, can, pickle, preserve, do all of those things that chefs admire as techniques.
Yeah.
Right? So much of the way that we take and make food last longer is, and we have learned to love over time, whether that's, pickles or dehydrating or whatever, right? Actually started out as a way of just stopping food spoilage.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of the techniques that we'll be using at the restaurant will be leveraging those really time-honored traditions for how do you keep food from going bad. Right.
Yeah. Great.
And so, like when we have an excess of something like daikon at the farm, right, we'll pickle it, right? And that means it'll last for months, right? When you have an excess of tomatoes because you've had a bumper crop, you make it into sauces and you jar it and then you use it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So those techniques, which are inherent to food preservation, are going to be things that we'll be utilizing at Farm Stand and at Nadine's.
Nice. Sounds good. Sounds good. For me, I'm the CEO of the paper packaging company.
Sure. Yeah.
So we basically focus on using sustainable paper materials, and we do, we can put your logo here. Basically I tell people that what we do is we don't just sell packaging, for the functionality of it. We help people make their brand more legitimate, right? We help people increase customer awareness. We help people kind of do marketing, right? Because when you have your logo here, it speaks when you are not in the kitchen, right? And people can see you. And you could also use this packaging to tell your story as well. You've shared wonderful stories about how you got started. I encourage restaurant owners, you can add a QR code, you can, you can make it fun where people can learn more about you just by using your packaging. So having said that, having said that, I'm going to give you some stuff that we
look
did.
at that.
So you could just take it and bring them out.
Very cool. All right, let's see. First of all, we've got Verdegreens.
Yeah.
Right? This is our logo. And this would be something like a sandwich wrap.
Yeah,
right?
you could use for sandwich wrap, you could use to
absolutely.
layer something.
Absolutely. Let's see what else we've got here.
Yeah. From your box, I see you have some stuff you put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely,
we have
for
that.
sure.
That
We
can be
use
used.
these for the mushrooms that we get from Lone Star Mushrooms at Tomball. We often put them in paper bags because paper bags are best for fungi.
Okay.
Oh, these are cool. And so, of course, the brown paper bags, and then also the white paper bags.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Then, because you said you serve some form of salads and stuff, so this is also.
Very cool. All right. Again, to-go packaging for things like that, right? Fantastic. Yeah, these are great. Oh, look, you even that's also.
This is what we do, we help.
up.
Yeah, we
Right
help put your image on it.
Well, thank you very much, Shidi. Appreciate that.
Yes.
And it's beautiful
Yeah,
stuff.
so I'm gonna bring one. We're gonna replace with a custom one.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Probably the white, so it shows a little bit better
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Then the natural.
Yeah. And it has your website at the back.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Very cool.
So with this, you could, at the farmer's market, this can be something, I know people get boxes. You have
They
boxes.
do. Yeah, for sure. A little bit of branding as they're walking around the market.
Yeah, kind of sets you apart, right? Yeah, people want to say, oh, okay, I've been there.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
So these are also solutions for the restaurant as well. So our goal basically is to, why we do this? A lot of restaurants, especially here, I've been in this business for the past 10 years, right? So we provide packaging solutions to restaurants back in Nigeria. And here, same restaurants can't afford to buy the large quantities. When they approach some companies, oh, I want to put custom. Everybody wants branded. Everybody wants their logo to be there to speak for them. They want to project their image. But most of the challenge that is being hit by most restaurant founders is that, oh, you have to buy 20,000, you have to buy 50,000 bags to be able to have your logo on it, to be able to put your website and stuff on it. So our goal is to basically change that, by helping restaurants buy their packaging according to the scale where they are at the moment, right? You're just starting your restaurant. You might not at the moment need to invest 50,000, invest in 50,000 bags or 50,000 boxes because you have other important stuff you want to do. So we can help you produce your bags, your boxes, as low as 250, as low as 100.
Yeah, very good.
If you want us to come deliver boxes to you on a weekly basis, just as you need them, that's possible with TPPC.
Very cool.
So that's basically what we're trying to do with boxes, with bags, with wraps, and all of this.
It's a very real problem. It really is in the market that it often requires big upfront fees to do and very large runs to do anything branded. So I think it's a good niche.
Yeah. Thank you. So do you have any final words? Where can people find you?
Well, you can find us at www.verdegreens.com. Again, it just means green greens, right? And then also we are going to be opening up Good God Nadine's, which is at 33 Waugh.
Okay.
And in just about 3 weeks, right? And then Farm Stand should be opening just a few months after that. So those are both in the Lower Heights area of Houston. So that's at Heights and Washington, roughly. So we hope to see you guys there.
Nice. And you see, when you look at the logos, right, the colors are, we are both in the sustainability.
Blues, absolutely.
Yeah. Basically the same colors, right? So,
Absolutely.
so that's the sustainable colors, right? So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. I really, really had a nice conversation with you. And we hope to talk more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chidi.